How's it going? When I was like 11 or 12, I was completely obsessed with Five Nights at Freddy's. I mean, every day I was playing the games, watching people play the games, looking at the wiki for every character, but mostly researching the theories. I think that mystery about everything kept me pulled into the series. I'd be watching MatPat theorize that Foxy was the second coming of Christ and my mind would be blown. I kept up with it until around FNAF 4. At that point, Scott Cawthon making up random shit for the lore got a bit tiring when I just wanted the loose ends to be tied up. And the gameplay loop wasn't really doing it for me anymore. When Security Breach came out, I did watch Markiplier play it for old time's sake, but it didn't really look like anything special. It just seemed like a standard horror game that happened to have Freddy Fazbear in it. But you can't deny the influence this franchise had. It did wonders for the indie game scene, and so many games would not exist without FNAF. Anyways, 11, yes. 11 years since the first entry, we now have Secret of the Mimic. It came out back in June, and weirdly enough, I have not seen much coverage of this game. I mean, obviously the fandom are talking about it, but in general, people haven't discussed it much. It's not like the franchise is dead. I remember seeing loads talk about Security Breach and the movie. Metacritic doesn't even have enough reviews to create a score for this game. I swear the My Name is Edwin song is more popular than the actual game. To be fair though, have you seen one bit of marketing for this game? 300 million grossed on the movie, but you can't pay for promotion on this. Alright then. But when I look at the reviews on Steam, a lot of them are very positive and people only seem to be complaining about the performance rather than the actual game. So I wonder, is Secret of the Mimic being overlooked? Did Steel Wool create a solid title? Have they pushed Frederick Fazbear to new boundaries? Well, we'll have a look. In Secret of the Mimic, we play as Arnold. After working for 36 hours straight, he's called in to do one more job for Fazbear Entertainment. I'm not too sure why he's complaining. I mean, being a Twitch streamer is way harder than a silly job like that. Anyways, cue the animatronics and the speech about them getting a little quirky at night. At this rate in the series, you know exactly how the premise goes. Arnold goes around Murray's costume manor, the Mimic constantly pursues him, and you try to piece together the story. I do like the plot here. It feels like something different for once while still being tied to the FNAF universe. It doesn't rope in recurring characters and creates a new story that still adds to the overall lore. It's not the greatest story of all time, but figuring out what happened to Edwin Murray and his family was intriguing enough to keep me going right to the end. Compared to Security Breach that heavily relied on fan favourites like Freddy and Springtrap, this felt like a more fresh entry. Although, I do have to ask, what was the Mimic doing for 60 years between this game and Security Breach? Like, did it take him that long to walk to the Pizzaplex or what? Was he just doing Forrest Gump while the rest of the story was happening? Similarly to Security Breach, Secret of the Mimic is a stealth horror game, unlike the older games which were more point and click. You have to navigate around the area, solve puzzles, and upgrade your data driver, all while the Mimic is in constant pursuit of you. Now, if you've seen me talk about Outlast, you know I don't really like those games, and they're also stealth horror. So how does Secret of the Mimic fare? Well, at least they tried to change their puzzles. Yeah, some are a bit repetitive, but I feel like Steel Wool did an alright job at giving you various tasks to do while reaching your next objective. Whether it was turning on the power, entering key codes, or even watching tapes, I wasn't completely bored with solving puzzles throughout the game. I think the only one that really frustrated me was collecting the trash cubes, because I swear to fuck, I walked around that area for half an hour looking for the last one, all while avoiding Dolly. If I didn't find out you could use the toy mouse as a substitute, I would have given up on my playthrough then and there. Hearing I recommend shock therapy was worse than Chinese water torture, but can't complain otherwise. So what about the other part of the gameplay, the spooky stuff, the tension? Is it there? Now, before I give you my thoughts, I have a very embarrassing confession to make. I think this is scarier than this. And you are completely obliged to call me a pussy because it is fucking mortifying to be scared of bear and chicken robots. Look, I don't know why, maybe it's childhood trauma from playing the original game, but with that in mind, I was actually kind of scared at times here, and Steel Wool were fairly inventive at some points. Like the chase sequence with Jackie, his arms stretching out in front of you made it feel like you were about to get caught, or Big Top slowly crawling out while you were waiting for the power to turn back on. Even the section with Dolly zigzagging around was tense because it strayed away from the typical enemy walking around. around. But I think the best moment was definitely with Tiger Rock. Having to run between lights while he teleported around and hearing his footsteps getting louder and louder when you were in the dark was fucking terrifying. And when he'd pop out of nowhere while you were walking through tight spaces, Jesus almighty. I literally jumped out of my chair when this happened. I was clenching my ass cheeks during this segment, thank God it was not that long. But as for the standard mimic parts, yeah, not that great. It got boring fairly quickly and it could turn into a waiting game at times when looking for an opportunity to move. The worst was definitely in the Murray Mansion because the area is so tight and claustrophobic that it took ages to do the puzzle because the mimic would always be about 5 feet away from you. Also, why did this Foxy segment drag on for so long? Like, yeah, alright, it's Foxy, why am I shooting targets for like 10 minutes? That completely broke the pacing for me and it felt like they were just trying to pad out the playtime. So those moments, not very riveting, but I do have to give props for the scripted moments of gameplay. I think the 1970s aesthetic gave the place a much scarier vibe as well. Like the Pizzaplex is way too bright and colourful to be an unsettling atmosphere. I think going back to the old grimy roots from the original games gives Secret of the Mimic a much more dreary setting. Seeing those animatronic suits everywhere made it feel like one could jump at me at any second. I do think they overdo it with the speeches though. Like remember when Phone Guy gave that animatronics get a little quirky at night talk? I feel like that was unnerving because of its subtlety. Like, what does he mean by quirky? Here though, your dispatch guy outright says the mimic is some murderous animatronic and later Dolly has this big speech about ripping you up and bleaching you or whatever. That's just overdoing it. I'm not really that scared because then I know the exact behavior of the animatronics. There's no room for interpretation that would keep your mind guessing. Seeing Fiona in an endoskeleton was a bit of a shock though. Like, we know about people's souls taking over animatronics already, but outright seeing that was kind of horrifying. This game isn't gonna make you shit bricks, but I feel like it does a good job overall. Now, people complained about the performance of the game, and I definitely noticed it at some points. My PC may be a complete piece of shit, but it should still run a game like this no bother. I mean, this is not a graphically demanding game at all. And you'd think Steel Wool would have taken this into account after the complaints from Security Breach, but nah. There were quite a few lag spikes, a few bugs, lots of weird loading sections, and if it wasn't for the toy mouse, I could have been soft locked at some point. Hopefully Steel will sort this out because it can be an immersion breaker at times. One more complaint I have though is the price of the game and its playtime. Secret of the Mimic costs almost €40 and I beat the game in about 4 hours. It could have been even shorter if I actually found the last trash cube. Yes, you can replay it for the third ending, but it's like one cutscene that you can watch on YouTube. And while I did mostly like my time with the game, I am not arsed playing it again anytime soon. Charging this much for such a short game is shocking though, especially when a game like Crow Country takes a similar length to beat for half the price. If it's the greatest 4 hours of your life, then I'd say fair enough, but is it? Like, it's decent, but I'm not gonna say it's on Silent Hill 2's level now, am I? I feel like they get away with it as well because of the name. If this didn't have Five Nights at Freddy's tacked onto it, Steel Wool would have been crucified for the price point. I would honestly wait for a massive discount, or look for a fit girl if you catch my drift. So overall, is Secret of the Mimic good? I'd say just about, yeah. Not the most mind-blowing horror I've ever played, but far from the worst. It has its good moments that bring it up a notch, and I feel like Steel will have improved in some ways from Security Breach. But is it underappreciated? I don't think there's any good reason to give this more attention. Not that it's bad, like I said earlier, it's fine, but nothing here makes it an outstanding entry into the FNAF series. It's like the Iron Man 2 of the franchise, you know. It's there, it's grand, it's not offending anyone, but no one's gonna say it's a contemporary critical thinking masterpiece. While I do think Steel Wool are making progress, this entry hasn't done enough to be one of the most celebrated titles this year. I would only recommend this game to someone who really loves Five Nights at Freddy's. Any casual person is not gonna care in the slightest. I give Secret of the Mimic a 6. Hello everyone. I just want to thank you for the immense support on the last video. I've been itching to make another upload and seeing the comments fly in while I was on holiday was painful. Silksong's finally here, so it looks like I'll have to force myself to play that one too. Oh no, not Silksong, oh no. Anyways, I appreciate every single one of you and I'll catch you again soon. Until then, subscribe.